Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about Visit to the Unknown from Tensei Shitara Slime Talk, and so without any ado let's begin. Visit to the Unknown, 10 Manifestation of Evil and the Super Beast Raid Part 1. The Mechanized Empire of Omsbine, Bart Cephon. Just as Feldora and Michelle encountered each other, a meeting of leaders was being held under the name of the Emperor of Omsbine. 6 people had gathered. Emperor Omsbine. Prime Minister Feodora. Governor-General of East City, General Christoph. Governor-General of West City, Lieutenant General Alvin. Governor-General of North City, Major General Umit. Representative for the Governor-General of South City, Brigadier Jejil. The most powerful in the Empire. Prime Minister Feodora stood up and scanned the room before declaring the meeting had begun. And with that, Emperor Omsbine opened his mouth gravely. "Where is Michelle?" It wasn't the subject of discussion, just a show of concern for his daughter's whereabouts. It was Michelle's adjutant, Jejil, who answered him. "Unfortunately, Your Majesty, Michelle has gone out to purge the traitors." "It is fine, I do not blame you," Omsbine said. His voice had no emotion, and it was difficult to know what he was thinking. It was the same with Jejil as well. She felt an immense pressure just being here as a representative. One amongst these few generals. They were all so different in rank from her. The emperor who ruled the empire. And the one who supported him with his mind, Prime Minister Feodora. And the governor-generals of each city were the same rank as Michelle and known as the Machinery Four. It was no wonder that she was nervous. While it is a problem that one could not answer the summoning of the emperor, perhaps there was a miscommunication. In that case, we cannot fault you, Prime Minister Feodora said as he went to the main subject. Leaving that matter aside, the reason that you have all gathered here today, was so I could tell you that the time has arrived. The time? What do you mean? Yes. I shall explain. Christoph remained silent, and so Alvin spoke up first. Christoph was a hero. A true military man who led the army during the Great War. After that, he helped his friend Omsbine ascend to the seat of emperor. Alvin was Omsbine's son and Michelle's older brother. He was carefree and brilliant. He was always the first person to ask questions at meetings like this. He was not afraid of anything and was the life of the party. In fact, several plans have been underway in secret, and they have started to bear fruit. Especially the pollution removal process that we are experimenting with at the Sacrificed Six. It is going very well. Most of the underground has been purified and we are thinking about moving to the surface. Prime Minister Feodora explained with a thin smile. Those who listened had no idea what he was talking about, and they bore expressions of confusion. "Wait, Feodora. What do you mean? Sacrificed Six?" Alvin must have sensed something sinister there because he frantically asked for an answer. Christoph remained silent, but his eyes gleamed sharply. Umit continued to look at the table. His posture had not changed at all since the beginning. It was not even certain if he was interested. As for Jejil, she was most surprised by Feodora's words. The only thing she could think of was that it must be about the 6th city. That meant. He. You are all very good at pretending to be oblivious. There is no need for that. Surely you all knew? 10 billion people were killed in order to create a foundation for the empire. How can you act so surprised over having to sacrifice 50 million residents? There was a madness in Feodora's smile, but no guilt at all. And it was Alvin, not Jejil, who stood up with furious rage. "Bastard! Do you understand what you are saying?" he shouted with a look of hatred. Alvin had been consulted by Michelle, and he was one of those was worked undercover for her. They had not been able to find any evidence until now, and yet here the culprit was, boldly making a declaration. It was probably more than Alvin could have ever imagined, Jejil thought. It was none other than his father, Emperor Omsbine himself, that soothed Alvin. "Calm yourself, Alvin. It was I who ordered the experiment in 6. Do not blame Feodora," he said as he ordered Alvin to sit down. "But," Alvin muttered, but ultimately obeyed his father and sat down. He. "Very good, Your Majesty. Your resolve is most admirable," Feodora said to the emperor. He had an obscene smile on his face, making it very clear that he was not speaking sincerely. It was too casual an attitude to have towards an emperor. Perhaps he had gone too far because it was not only Alvin now, but Christoph also looked at Feodora with a sharp stare. And just as he opened his mouth to warn him. "However, Feodora, Is it not too early to disclose such information? Why did you do it? Is that why you had everyone gather together here in my name? What are you planning? The emperor questioned Fyodora in a threatening voice. No one could defy the emperor who had ruled this empire for over 100 years. Yes, until now. Fyodora smiled confidently and maintained his arrogant attitude. Oh, nothing serious. I was just... What? What is it, Fyodora? I wanted your majesty to be unburdened. That is what my unworthy self was thinking. You lack respect, Fyodora. Kristoff had been silent up until now, but he began to yell at Fyodora. Still, the fiery anger of a hero such as Kristoff was not enough to change Fyodora's expression. He looked at Kristoff coolly and said, Kristoff the hero. Surely you also knew of the Emperor's will? Cull the population from a world moving towards destruction, allowing only those who are brilliant to survive. Bring stability to the world while becoming a great criminal. Then have the new leaders judge you. Is it not such a commendable self-sacrifice? The words that Fyodora unleashed were enough to make the room grow cold. What? It cannot be. Father, is this true? No, no. Shock ran through the room. As if expecting this reaction, Fyodora stood up and began to talk with a rapturous expression. Surely there is no problem now, Your Majesty? You should tell them and unburden yourself. This is ridiculous. Have you gone mad, Fyodora? The world is still polluted, we are far from reaching stability. The time is not right. Silence, you senile fool. The only reason that I was forced to take action was that you had complete control of the Mobius system. If I had that system, all the energy problems would have been solved. And yet you... What are you saying? I told you that it was not complete. It was just a dream, Fyodora. It was something that exceeded our capabilities as humans. Silence. Fyodora shrieked as if he had gone mad. But then he suddenly regained his calm. And then he smiled evilly. Your Majesty. It really is all your fault, you know. This final part of the plan that had been secretly underway was now activated in front of Fyodora's eyes. It happened at the same time. Alvin was the first to move. He stood up to apprehend Fyodora, and took a step forward. He was able to perfectly control the advanced features of the Machinery 4 with machinery arts. He was even able to erase the shock waves as he moved like the wind. However, that was the signal. The first one to move is your target. That was the decision made between Fyodora and the other party. And that person was part of the Machinery 4, just like Alvin Major General Umit. Of course, his exposed back was completely unguarded, and so Umit's attack caught Alvin right in the back of the head. The energy turned into vibrations and reached Alvin's brain. A second later, Alvin's head exploded like an egg that had been heated in a microwave. I am glad that it was you who moved first. The thing is, I never did like you, Alvin. Major General Umit was the Governor General of North City and the younger brother of the Emperor. However, his heart was full of jealousy towards his brilliant older brother. And the sense of inferiority about being related to such a great emperor had eaten away at him. He was the lowest of the Machinery 4, and that only made him more resentful. Prime Minister Fyodora had seen through him and seduced him with sweet words, leading him to the crime now committed. Alvin? Umit, you bastard. What did you? The Emperor shouted. Umit laughed unconcernedly. His next target was the brother who was the root of his resentment. Emperor Umsbine himself. Umit seemed to vanish as he rushed towards the Emperor. However, his murderous hand was stopped by a will of iron. It was the hero, General Kristoff. The strongest of the Machinery 4 was standing in Umit's way. Why don't you abandon that man and help me? I will raise you up if I become Emperor. I refuse. My loyalty is to my friend, Emperor Umsbine. So you will get in my way, Kristoff? Well, you will regret that decision. A vicious battle began. It was a battle of the strongest cyborgs, the Machinery 4. And none could interfere. Jejil had to back away so that she did not get caught in it. She tried to move to protect the Emperor, but... Stop, Jejil. Jejil froze at those words. What? I can't move. She was horrified. You can't move? I am the one who modified you. And so I can take your freedom of movement with a word. Besides, what good would you be in such a fight? Be quiet and stay out of their way. It was Fyodora's voice. Fyodora. What do you want? Didn't I tell you, Your Majesty? I want the Mobius system. It is unfortunate that Michelle is not present, but it has also raised the success rate of my plan. Only Christophe and Michelle remain of the machinery 4. If Christophe is killed here, then that will only leave Michelle. In other words, I win. You fool. You underestimate Christophe. Even if they are equal in features, Christophe's brain is on a different level. Amit cannot win against the founder of machinery arts. Emperor Omsbine sounded quite confident. The machinery 4 had been modified by the emperor himself. And among them, Christophe boasted a strength that made him the greatest of them all. They could all see that Amit was being pushed back in the fight that played out before them. It was clear that there was a difference in power. In fact, Amit's ether ring barrier had been shut down, and the light was starting to grow dim. It was only a matter of time before his defeat. Unless you took them by surprise, it was impossible to take down the machinery 4 in one hit. And so Christophe calmly pushed Amit towards the point where he would no longer be able to fight. However, Fyodora continued to look confident. I've gathered enough data. Now is the time. Kill him. The Emperor and Jejil, and even Christophe himself could not understand what had happened. Everyone but Fyodora and Amit could only watch the scene in silence. A hand had burst out from the chest of Christophe, the strongest hero. And this hand was the hand of none other than the one whose head had been destroyed, Alvin. Amit sneered madly. What? But your brain was destroyed, how? Christophe asked in shock. He had been dealt a lethal wound. The person who replied was Alvin. His head had now completed regenerated. It's quite simple, General Christophe. I am not Alvin. I am an artificial life form made by my father, Fyodora, a bionoid. However, I will absorb the genetic information in this human called Alvin, as well as the biocomputer equipped in this body. That includes his personal memories and skills. You might say that I am Alvin reborn. Ha 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 ha. That's what it is. Alvin pretended to be dead so he could attack you, Christophe. But if it had been you that moved first, I would have destroyed you with this hand. That's impossible. GGG. Your Majesty, I am sorry. Emperor Omsbine was shocked and confused. And so, leaving his emperor alone, the hero Christophe ceased to function as a life form. How can it be, how can? Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more content.